Prologue. May 1997. Light attracts. Nothing extraordinary about that when you consider creatures of every species. For Jeb Lanigan, it was the source of the light that would ultimately land him at the epicenter of a great American tragedy. Back in the 70s, Jeb would take a round-trip train ride once every summer from his hometown of Reno, Nevada, to San Francisco to visit his grandmother who had retired to San Jose across the bay. He adored his grandmother, but in all honesty, it was the train rides that spurred him westward. Jeb was a man filled by wanderlust, and the cross-country treks were a convenient way of satiating some of that lust. As an independent financial advisor who was already approaching burnout status at the age of 40, he recently had considered jumping off the grid. At first, he fell for the attractions of his profession. The chance to offer meaningful advice on one of the more important aspects of a person's life, the opportunity for him to be his own boss, the prospect of unlimited earning potential, not to mention the flexible hours. Altogether, it amounted to a comfortable lifestyle for one who harbors no desire to further climb the ladder of success. It wasn't long, though, before the cons came to the fore, especially the one when you come to realize that you are, in fact, taking on a heavy responsibility in handling other people's money, and not always to their satisfaction. The flexible hours were turning into a daily 24-hour grind. How many times had he advised a client to invest in a certain stock, and when the issue dropped a fraction of a point, the client called him immediately on the phone the next day questioning the decision? As for other responsibilities, he had few. He was single, never married, an only child whose parents were independently wealthy, and unlike his grandmother, 1,000 miles away, much more into their lives than his. Face it, you're devoting all your time to the lives of others, not your own, he told himself while on one of his trips to see his granny. Time for a mid-course correction before it's too late. That's when he saw the light, quite literally. Gazing out over a darkened landscape from the window of his Amtrak cabin, he could vaguely make out the outline of the Sierra Nevada mountains as the train approached the California border just past Verde, Nevada. For miles on end, pine trees and hills cloaked in shadows lulled him into a meditative state until he saw that light off in the distance. He soon realized it was a cluster of lights he was viewing, indicating a remote human presence of some sort. A homestead? A tiny village? A roadside tavern? From what he could discern, the source of the distant light was coming from the slopes of the Sierra foothills, perhaps